We're continuing in the Navi Shmuel Aleph, Perek Ches, and we're up through Pasuk Tes. A few more points regarding Malchus. Rabbi Tzadok says in his Likutei Mamorim that, just like we know, it says Leiv Melachim Biyad Hashem, the heart of kings is in the hands of Hashem, which means that a king has less free will than other people, as it were, because he has to fit into God's plans for the whole world. So if the king is a symbol of Yira and Anova, of fear and humility, then he will be a good king. But if he is arrogant, it certainly will not work. And therefore it's critical that he become humble, which we'll see when we get to other kings, how that plays into, how that fits in. And as well, we have from Rav Dessler an important comment. He says, the Gemara in Bava Basra says, Pnei Moshe k'pnei Chama, the face of Moshe was like the face of the sun. Pnei Yeshua k'pnei Levana, and the face of Yeshua was like the face of the moon. He explains that Moshe was able to merit his levels of receiving the message from Hashem face to face. That's like the sun. Meaning to say that whatever he was able to comprehend went immediately into his heart without any barriers. Like the sun, just shines brightly. Yeshua, on the other hand, he had to work hard to bring that knowledge into his heart, and that means the moon. That's the moon. And so that was the avoda of the Jewish people during all the times of Yeshua and Shoftim. It was hard to get the message across. But then he says, when the hearts even became smaller, and they needed a king, meaning a man that was chosen from the prophets, and here's the important phrase, V'niten lo kvod malchus, and they gave him the honor of kingship. In other words, they gave him external trappings, which isn't a real thing. To force the people to be subjugated to Hashem. This is a much more external level than on previous generations. So again, we see that having a king is a definite descent in the level of spirituality of the Jewish people. That kind of sums up the overall discussion. And now what we're going to do is to move ahead. Pasuk Tes, and basically we're going to take it to the end of the chapter here, is one theme now, is the reaction that Hashem wants Shmuel to have to the Jewish people. And to this is going to be a machlokes, the Malbim and the Ralbag on one side, and the Radak on the other side. And you'll see very soon what we mean. Pasuk Tes. And now, Shema b'kolam, listen to their voices. Ach ki ha'ed ta'id b'hem, but you should forewarn them. V'gato lahem, and tell them, Mishpat ha'melech, the laws of kingship, asher yimloch aleim, that will rule over them. Now, the Malbim in general, his discussion of this topic is, he says, now it's been revealed their plans in their heart, that really is not a very good plan what they want. So now they're no longer worthy for divine godly supervision over them. That only happened when they were on a high level, as we said yesterday. And now that their godly image, they've removed their godly image from themselves, and they want to be just like all the other goyim that operate under the level of teva, of nature. So then they need a king that will suit the level that they're at, which will be completely natural. So therefore, Shema b'kolam, listen to their voice, listen to what they want. But if you listen to what they want, you better warn them. So since they want a king who is not necessarily going to bow to the laws of Hashem, but a if you want to live naturally with a buffer between you and Hashem, that buffer is not going to be that close to Hashem either. And therefore he will be a moshel, he'll be a tyrant over you people. And he'll lead the way things naturally go, the way he wants to. And no one can hold him back. So you better forewarn them of the evil that they're going to find from such a conduct of such a king. Because if we had a king who was ruling, who subjugated himself to the laws of the Torah, then he wouldn't glorify himself to bring laws that wouldn't be appropriate. Because he also has to listen to the Torah, as we see David HaMelech and things like that. But a king who won't make himself subservient to the Torah, he will rule with a strong hand. So it's not going to be good for you. And that's what he says. Now he didn't say, he's not saying, it's interesting, he said Mishpat HaMelech. The laws, the justice really of the king, as opposed to what you would want to hear him say, Mishpat HaMelucha, the justice of the monarchy. So it's not that what he will not act in the way of for the sake of the monarchy, which is beyond the individual king, but rather what the justice of the individual king will be. Right? That's much different. And that, if it's the laws of the monarchy, there's Torah laws of the monarchy that a king has to fulfill. You know, just like he can't have too many horses or things like that, and others can't ride on his horse and use his scepter. That would have been the proper way, but it says Mishpat HaMelech. It means that's the justice, the laws of the king, the way he will establish, the way he will want it, which will not be according to Torah law. So basically, and that's Ralbag also says that same idea. He makes the shtel on the Mishpat HaMelech and not Mishpat HaMelucha. And therefore, what you're going to see now in the next psukim is how he's warning them. He's scaring them. He says, "This is what you want. You want a king? You're going to see what you're going to get. It's not going to be good for you guys. So I'm warning you. You said you wanted this. This is what you're going to get. You sure you want this?" That's the way the Malbim and the Ralbag learn these psukim. The Radak learns the psukim differently, and he says that he will be the king, and as a king, even as a good king, he may do things you won't like, which is within the rights of a king. You know, there's the Malbim Ralbag say he'll act capriciously and he'll do his own self-serving needs. He won't care about the people at all. Then the Radak say no, he'll be a king, but as a king, he's entitled to certain rights to be able to do what a king has to do, even according to Torah law. He's entitled to do things that it is not a democracy. If it's not a democracy, then you don't come first. And if you don't come first, and the realm comes first, and the Jewish people's overall needs as representative of God's comes first, well, then he's going to enforce laws that you're not going to like. And you won't like it not because he is being cavalier, but because this is what it means to have a king. Everybody wants to have a king till you have the king. And then when he fuzzes, this is the law of being a king. So, well, I don't like that. Well, then you want a democracy. Then go to America. You can't be here. So that's the way he wants. Now it's very interesting. If you look in the Rambam in the 4th chapter, the laws of kings, he writes the laws of what a king is entitled to do, and it nearly is almost paraphrasing all the next psukim that Shmuel is going to say, which seems to say that we're learning that he understood the psukim as well, like the Radak, that these psukim are the rights of a king, even a good, a proper Jewish king. And therefore he writes what the things you're going to see here. He writes them, these are the halachas. This is what a king is allowed. He's allowed to appropriate certain properties, allowed to do this, allowed to do this, allowed to do a lot of things. And that, because that's the way a king is entitled to live. So as we go through these psukim, there's going to be 2 ways to go through this. Either this is the proper way of a king, which will be a way that the Jews won't be appreciative of, or no, if you want to show that you're far away from Hashem and you don't want to live a Torah life, so you'll have a king who won't live a Torah life, and then he'll do things that are totally not just. There'll only be justice for him, the personal king, and not justice for the realm. So it's going to be the two ways as we're going to go through the psukim to explain this. Yeah?
Do you think, just a question, is when they ask for the king, they say that the sons, Shmuel's sons...
I didn't get...
yeah. Going back.
Yeah.
Shmuel's sons didn't follow his ways. Do you think if they were better people and they did follow his ways, none of this would have happened? They wouldn't have asked for a king? Because it almost implies like they were happy having a Navi lead them, but they didn't see a future.
Again, we said yesterday with the Malbim that if they were happy with the Navi leading them, they should have said, Shmuel, get rid of your two sons and you continue to lead.
But then they're planning ahead, so they think he's going to die. So who's be next?
So that's where they were supposed to have a little bitachon and say, Shmuel, you tell us what we should do.
Right, they really didn't go from father to son.
In other words, you like Shmuel? Yes. You don't like his sons? No. Fine. So tell Shmuel, we don't want your sons. We're going to take you out of retirement. You know, what's going to happen when you die? Shmuel, tell us what we should, you tell us what we should do. So the fact that they're already telling him what they want to do, that already shows. So, you know, again, it's interesting that you don't find this request during the worst times of the Shoftim. You never found that request, which is a little bit enigmatic. If you think the time to ask for a king would be then. But then again, who are you going to ask it from? In other words, in the times of the Shoftim, no Shofet really clearly had any real power over all of Eretz Yisrael. It was more localized. So you're going to go to a Shofet who rules over Dun and say, appoint a king over all of us. Right? Or even what was going on with in Shevet Menashe, when they offered the kingship, right, to, who was that again? Just mix it up. Was it Yiftach? Gidon? I don't remember. It was mixed them up. They offered him to be the king, right? I think it was Gidon, right? And he said, no, I won't be the king. But it was, how much of a king could he have been? It was localized in one part of Eretz Yisrael. The fact that Shmuel really was a leader over the entire Jewish people, now you have the first central leadership that could address such a question in a way that Shmuel seemed to have respect over all the Jews everywhere. So if he had that kind of respect, then now it's time we could ask, considering the fact that you're not going to be around anymore. Okay, so moving on to Pasuk Yud. So that's what Hashem tells him to do. Now, please bear in mind, we're going to have to, I don't know if today, but by the end of the prayer, we're going to have to compare certain things to what the Jews will ask for earlier and what they're going to ask for afterwards, as you'll see. Vayomer Shmuel es kol divrei Hashem. So Shmuel said all the words of Hashem, El Ha'am, to the people, Hasholim Meito Melech, who asked from a king from him. So Hashem says, I heard what they had to say. You better warn them what's going to be. And obviously he told Shmuel what that's going to be. And now he's going to inform them. Right. And saying, based on you wanting to have Goyish laws and really to leave the kingdom of Hashem, this is what you're going to find over here. And now we continue Pasuk Yud Aleph. Vayomer. Now from Yud Aleph through Yud Ches, the next 8 psukim, he's going to tell them how terrible it's going to be to have a king. Either way, either terrible because of injustice or terrible because of justice. Okay. Vayomer, he says, Zeh mishpat hamelech. This will be the law of the melech. Again, he's answering them the way they asked. Right? That's what Hashem said. Hashem said, you want the mishpat hamelech? And what is it that they asked? Again, simulanu melech. They want a melech lishavteinu k'chol hagoyim, to judge us like all the nations. That's what they said in Pasuk Hey. And Shmuel didn't like that. And it seems they want to have just a king per se and not a monarchy per se. So he's saying exactly what Hashem said. The mishpat hamelech, not the mishpat hamelucha. Hashim yimloch aleichem, that he will rule over you. Now the Malbim says that there is a number of items over here. He says, you think the king's going to make nice laws and everything's going to be wonderful for you guys? It's going to be the opposite. And this is going to be his rules that are not going to be good for you. And the Malbim says there's 7 general areas. So number 1 is to your sons. As b'neichem yikoch. First of all, your sons he will take, meaning he will conscript them for his use, and whatever that is. V'samlo b'merkavto, and he will place him in his chariot, u'b'farashav, and the horses who lead the chariots. V'ratz lifnei merkavto, and they're going to have to run before his chariot. So the first thing he's saying is that he will make your children do work that's denigrating to them. All of a sudden we need people running in front of a chariot, which is not exactly a very prestigious type of work. And again, that is like, according to the Malbim, that's according to the whims of a king. The whims of a king. And conscripting you, not paying you, and things like that. But then this goes further. The denigration and the cavalier attitude continues in Pasuk Yud Beis. V'asum to place him Sarei Alafim, officers of the thousands, v'Sarei Chamishim, officers of the 50s, v'lecharosh charisho, to plow what he needs plowed, v'liksor ksiro, to harvest what he needs harvested, v'lasos kli milchamto, kli richbo, and to force you to make utensils of war and utensils of riding on for chariots. So the Malbim explains. So once he makes runners out of you guys, then for his wanting to get his own covet, then he'll just capriciously decide who he wants to select as officers of the thousands. In other words, he'll want to give some of them nice jobs, and other ones work on the farm, which is very less prestigious work, and others that are working on blacksmiths and making other types of utensils. So therefore it comes out who will be the officers, the ones who are running in front of his horses. And he's not going to necessarily pick people because of their talent and their ability and their virtues, but rather according to his desires upon whom he wants to raise or who he wants to lower in esteem. Do I want to make you an important guy? If I like you, you look good to me, I'm going to make you an officer. Are you talented? Doesn't matter. And if I don't like what you do, I'm going to put you down to work on the ground. And that is totally not just, right? He says that's not a just way, and it's not the proper way to lead the people. Now, the Radak, on the other hand, says, no, he's going to give you jobs, and he'll pay you for these jobs. And he needs people to do certain jobs, and you may get jobs you don't want to have, but he may say, listen, you're better off doing this job, you're better off doing that job, and it doesn't have to be capricious. But again, you still won't like being told that you have to do this job. Right? Nobody wants to be told. The last person who wants to be told what to do is an untalented person. You're untalented, so you just run in front of the horse all day long. That's all you can do. What? I could do more than that. Yeah, go try. Right? So it could be that's really the way it should be. And nobody wants to be told what to do. That's exactly what's going to happen. Even if you get paid. Malbim was learning, no, he'll conscript you, he won't pay you, he'll force you to do things you don't want to do. And then he'll just capriciously decide who gets what, and it'll be a total farce. So again, it's different ways of looking at it. But again, according to either pshat, you're really not going to be happy with it. Okay, now moving on to the next section, as it were. How about the daughters? Pasuk Yud Gimel. Vespenosechem yikach, he will take your daughters, l'rakachos, to be women who make perfumes, to make them perfumers, against whatever you call a person who makes perfume, what do you call that profession? So l'tapachos, and for cooks, for butchers, ula alfos, and for bakers. Okay, so daughters, he won't give them any prominent positions, but give them all kinds of mundane work for them. Okay, so he doesn't necessarily. I don't see what's so bad, but but according to Malbim, it's similar. He takes your daughters out of the house. He says, you have a nice 16-year-old daughter, I want her working in the palace as my cook. Finished. You don't have any choice. So again, it's things people won't like, even if according to the Radak, okay, he'll pay her. But you want her to be in your house. You want her to cook in your house. Right? He's going to take away from you. All right, next. So that's sons, daughters, now property. Yudal. Vesedosechem, veskarmechem, veseisechem, atovim, yikach. and your fields and your vineyards and your olive yards that are good and productive, the best that you got, he'll take. He's going to give it to his servants. Right? In other words, he's got servants that he likes. He wants to keep the servants happy. He wants the servants to get rich because they're close to him. So therefore, he'll appropriate your properties and say the government needs your land because he wants to give it to whoever he wants to give it to. So again, that's really not so nice thing to do. Right? Moving on. V'zarechem v'charmechem yasor, and the things that grow from your fields and from your vineyards, yasor, he will appropriate a tenth. And whatever lands he doesn't take, right, he will just appropriate a tenth of that you have to give as a tax. He'll give it to his officers and to his servants because they need to be taken care of. Now here, so again, Malbim says it's capricious, while the Radak is saying, listen, king's entitled to tax his people. He has soldiers, he has to pay his soldiers, he has to feed his soldiers. So where's he going to get it from? He's going to get it from you. Either he's going to appropriate fields as is necessary, or he's going to tax you a tenth, and you're going to have to give a tenth. And he has servants that he has to take care of. The army has to be supported. You want to have an army, you have to have an army, you have to have servants. It's that whole bureaucracy that you wanted to have. So bureaucracies cost money, and he'll decide how much to levy the taxes on you, and you'll have to pay that. Well, the Malbim is saying no, since he's going to have his bunch of cronies, so he's going to take your money and fairly or unfairly, and use it in ways that aren't fair either. Okay, so we've seen how this is not even in monarchy. This is even in normal democratic societies. That's exactly what you see is going on over there. Let alone, and that's when they have to answer to somebody. If the king doesn't have to answer to anybody, so certainly that'll be even worse. All right, moving on. Tes Zayin ve'es avdechem ve'es shivchoisechem ve'es bachurechem hatovim ve'es chamorechem yikoch v'asom l'machto. So what's he taken so far? The boys, the girls, the fields, right? The taxes, and now your own servants and your own maids, and the bachurechem hatovim. I'm not sure what this is adding over here. I don't know if your English says any better. I mean, usually bachur means young men who are good. So I don't
your best young men.
Your best young men. So which best young men are we talking about?
18 years old.
Well, who are they? Are they your sons? We already talked about your sons. If it's your servants, we already talked about your servants. So I'm not sure, unless it means, and then it goes to Ves Chamorechem and your donkeys. I mean, Tovim, the commentators say the ones that look very beautiful, the ones that look good, the ones that look. But who aren't we talking about people already? Unless he's saying your best servants and maid servants. I don't see in the commentaries where they clarified that. But it really doesn't matter. It doesn't change the point over here. But so even though what?
Yeah, the best young men, your most handsome young men may be conscripted.
Yeah, from who? So if it's from your own children, then that should have been mentioned earlier, way back in Pasuk Yud Aleph. Right? So I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure. But the point being, you had your own servants. You had your own maids. Right? So, and they were able to help you. So now, right? And now he's going to take them away from you to do his work. And you had good animals to do your work, and he's going to take away your work. So you see how more difficult it's going to become. Can you imagine? Before you had a king, you had your sons, you had your daughters, you had your servants, you had your maids, and you lived pretty good. Now the king can come along and scoop up your whole family, and you're stuck. And he taxes your field. You don't have servants to work on the field. How are you going to produce now? And the best ones he took. He's not going to take the lousy ones. He's going to, that's a strong servant. He's a good servant. Yeah, he's one of my best servants. Good, we're taking him. And that's the way it is. It's funny. I had we have friends in Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, not only do they conscript all the young boys and girls, they conscript your dogs. If you have a good dog, German Shepherd, right by their friends. And the government said, you have a dog? It's a good one. They took the dog. Because they need them in there to sniff for drugs or whatever, I don't know, sniff for terrorists. See, so even go more than that. They'll take your dogs. And we know how close people are with their dogs. That's the worst thing to do. Take a person's dog away, it's mamish.
Take your kid, it's okay.
It's unbelievable. But so again, it's another layer of what of abuse, or according to them, it's legitimate rights that they have to do this.
Where would all of this come relative to the trumas and mashas and obligations?
Beyond that, it's beyond that.
So that
beyond the regular trumas and maasros that you have to give. They're already giving 22% in a religious context. So now whatever the king says in addition. Now, what was your trumas and maasros? Supporting the Kohanim, supporting the Levim, supporting the poor, right? Who's supporting the army?
50%.
Where's the army being supported from? Not from that. There's nothing there. Kohanim is not the army. Levim is not the army. So now we need whatever it's going to be, another 10, 20, 30%. Whatever.
State your best. That's best after you've given.
No, it's your best children and servants. We're saying here. The best is going on your servants or your sons. He's going to take your best, not just anybody, your best. It's not going on the Meiser anymore. It's not going on taxes. Pasuk Tezayin is not going on taxes. It's going on taking the best servants or the best children that you have. And he's taxing you beyond that. He's taking Meiser, meaning Meiser not in the classic halachic Meiser, but in the contemporary Meiser, taxing you and taking money that the government should be able to run.
I was looking back to you, Dalit, where it talks about the fields.
He'll just take the fields. He'll just take the fields. Now others learn that there's a big question over here. What happened when what's his name? Achav took Naval's field. We'll learn later in Book of Malachim, there's a king who wanted to have another fellow's vineyard, and he felt he couldn't take it by law, so he had him killed. So commentators ask, why did he have to kill him? By law, he could take the fields. There's a whole discussion how that was able to happen. So therefore, because that some learn, when it says the fields here, it means only the crops of the fields, and not the fields itself. But whatever. Be that as it may, you're getting the general idea of what's happening over here. Okay, Pasuk Yud Zayin, next layer. Somchem Yaser, and how about your sheep? He'll take tithes of your sheep. Right? V'atem tiyuli tiyulo lavodim. And finally, you will be servants for him. So that, and even you, not just your children, you'll be servants, because he's going to rule over you entirely. He's going to have total rulership over you. So this is all the nachas you're going to get from this king. And more than that, Yudches, Uza'aktem bayomahu milifnei malkechem asher b'charta lachem. And you will cry out on that day from before your king which you chose for yourselves. Because you're going to see you can't overthrow him anymore. Because he will rule, he will really rule over you. See, he probably complained to the king a few times, and he threw you in jail and did whatever he wanted to do, and punished you more. So there's nobody to talk to. So now you're going to cry back up to Hashem. Right? You're going to cry back to Hashem on that day, and look what's going to happen. Hashem will not answer you on that day, because you made your bed, now you lie in it. Now obviously it is a question to ponder. Why would Hashem not listen to their prayers? I mean, if they're going to do tshuva, certainly Hashem would answer them. So what is obviously being stated in the Navi over here is that you're going to cry out, but you're not doing any tshuva. Didn't say you're doing tshuva. You're going to cry out. You know why you're not doing any tshuva? Because you're not going to even think of doing tshuva. Why you're not going to think of doing tshuva? Because after you've had this king, mind you, this king isn't going to be a tyrant the first 3 months he's in office. And it may not even be the first king who will be a tyrant. This is going to be a slow process. slowly. I mean, we're going to see the first few kings it wasn't this way. But Shaul wasn't such a terrible king. David wasn't a terrible king. Shlomo wasn't a terrible king. So that's already that's about 80 years. Okay, and it's 80 years. That's how long they ruled. 40, whatever. So 80 years is 80 years, and then now Shmuel is a distant memory. Okay, the buffer has begun, even though these were, let's say, good kings. But
Shaul was a good king?
No, Shaul to the people was good. He made mistakes between him and God, but to the people, everything that Shmuel was saying is going to happen did not happen. When Shaul was around, did not happen. When David was around, maybe with Shlomo, we don't know, but you didn't have bad kings yet. Okay, then after Shlomo, a little bit further, then it becomes bad. So it's not like you had Shmuel, and the first year it was terrible. So then they said, well, remember, it's the same people. They'll remember the good old days of Shmuel. They'll remember what it meant to be close to Hashem. You're now going 2-3 generations who don't even know who Shmuel was. They don't know that times were any better. And this golden era of Shmuel was a brief one, and therefore they're going to forget what it was like having the direct connection to Hashem. If you don't have that direct connection to Hashem, so how do you cry out to Him when you're in trouble? For selfish reasons. We're going back to the Shoftim days of crying out, where you're crying out, and even the Shoftim days were better because they still felt a strong connection to Hashem. So if you don't feel a connection to Hashem and you want to be left to nature, you're just calling out to Hashem. You ain't calling out to Hashem because you're sincerely repenting. That's what the Navi's hinting at. He's saying you're going to cry to Hashem, you're going to want things to be better, but if you're not doing any tshuva, Hashem's not going to make it better, and for obvious reasons, because now He really wants you to know how bad it is to have had a king. So He's saying, so it's going to be bad, and you're not even going to get answered. So you're really putting yourself in a very terrible situation. So that was the idea. So let's see how the people respond. Pasuk Yutes. And the people refused to listen to the voice of Shmuel. What do we mean they refused to listen? They had to hear. But they say like this. Vayomru, they say, Lo, no! Ki im melech yihye alanu, but there will be a king over us. To see what they mean over here. Chaf. V'hayinu gam anachnu k'kol hagoyim. And we will be, also us, like all the nations. Ushvatonu malkeinu, and our king will judge us. V'yatsa lefanenu, and will go out before us. V'nilchames milchamoseinu, and will fight our wars. And we have to understand what Malbim is going to explain, that they have changed their tune. Now, their request has shifted, or perhaps they've modified what the original request was to keep it a little bit more in line to what these things shouldn't happen. So, in other words, so once they began to hear what Shmuel was saying, and in other words, like this, Shmuel wanted, what was Shmuel's goal with this? What was the point of saying all this?
Scare them off.
Scare them off, and they'll say, forget it. We'll just stay with you. Get rid of your sons. We want you back in power. You'll give us advice. That's what he really wanted to do. According to the Malbim, that's what he wanted to do. So they said, Lo, no. No means not like your words, that you are saying he will be a dictator before us without humbling himself to the religion of Judaism and its law. He says, no, that's not what we want. And because that would not be considered a king, that would be considered a moshel. Remember, in Hebrew, a moshel is a tyrannical ruler, and a melech is a benevolent king, which is a big difference. Right? A king is someone that we choose. A tyrant is someone who rules against our will. So he's saying, we're not going to have a ruler like that. We're going to have a king. That's what they're saying. Lo, ki melech yalanu. We want someone who is a king, not a moshel. We will not be subjugated to him for servants, but rather the king will be subjugated to us to do the way we want it as the Torah. We will enforce the Torah laws upon him. And now in Pasuk Chav, they expand on this, of how much they want this. Because in the beginning, they said, Tznolonu melech l'shoftenu kechol hagoyim. That's what they said in the beginning. Give us a king who will judge us like all the other nations. So Shmuel, maybe he heard it one way. So he says, we didn't mean that he should rule us like all the non-Jews according to the non-Jewish way that they do it in a capricious fashion. That's not what we meant when we said like all the other goyim. We meant we should have a king like all the other goyim who have a system of monarchy. That's what they say, that we'll have a king over us, and then we will be like all the other nations in terms of that we have a king. We have royalty, just like they have royalty, right? And now he would have to arrange things. Now he has certain responsibilities as a servant of the people. And now the Malbim says there's two specific tasks for which we want the king to be. Number one is Vishavtenu Malkeinu. We want him to judge. Our king should judge, meaning according to the judgments of the Torah. There he's not saying Vishavtenu, he should judge us like all the goyim would judge us. No, Ushvatanu Malkeinu, like the Torah wants that it should be judged according to the laws of the Torah. We want a king who's going to be a just king, and also we want that he should go before us and fight milcham mosenu, our battles. Now, there could be two different battles a king can fight. Sometimes kings fight battles for their own glory. If the king wants to become richer, so he makes his own battles. It's not for Alexander the Great, when he was conquering the world, was he doing it for the benefit of the Greeks? I mean, you fight the people around you for the benefit of the Greeks. You don't have to go all the way far away to conquer the whole world, unless you want your own fame and fortune and covet. So therefore saying he will fight our battles. In other words, whatever is best for the people, he will fight that those battles will help us, if it's for defense or for our economy or things like that. And therefore, he will be fighting for the people. So basically what they were saying is, we want to have our king. We may still want to have a buffer between Hashem. They may not have recanted on that, but they said, but if he wanted to follow the Torah, we want to be the king over him. That's the kind of king we want. Okay, so it seems they've done, but they don't realize how unrealistic that is. Once you've created a buffer between you and Hashem, what's going to guarantee that king is going to be so God-fearing? You want to have it both ways. You want to say, really, we don't want to be so close to Hashem, but we want our king to listen to everything in the Torah. Well, you think that king's going to want to listen to everything in the Torah when he has a constituency that doesn't want to be so close to Hashem? What's the only reason you want to keep everything in the Torah? Because you want to be close to Hashem. If you want to be close to Hashem, they want to not be close to Hashem, but they want the king to be close to Hashem.
Right.
The king, you have to be the religious one, and therefore listen to everything we want. You're not going to find too many kings doing that. So it's a nice idea. You want to have your cake and eat it. All right, at least they're not. So Shmuel thought they really want the worst. They don't want to keep Torah. They don't want to get anything. And that's as we learned yesterday in the Malbim. So no. We want to keep Torah and everything. But we're going to be the boss over him. So let's see his reaction now. Pasuk Chaf Aleph. He says, just make sure I didn't skip anything here. Okay. So Vayishma Shmuel es kol divriyam. So Shmuel now listens to all the words of the people. Vayidabreim ba'oznei Hashem, and he says them into the ears of Hashem. So Malbim explains that Shmuel heard that they now they are asking properly. Before he felt they were asking not properly. They said, no, we want to have a king according to the laws of the Torah. And now it's also, remember, there were a lot of things were wrong. First of all, they were showing disrespect for Shmuel, if you recall. So now they took away from that disrespect. Why? Because we really need him to fight our battles. We said yesterday, if they only said they needed a king to fight the battles, that wouldn't be an insult to Shmuel. Because Shmuel's too old to fight the battles. Right? So therefore, Shmuel says, okay, I see they're asking better now. They're not really insulting me, and better that they are that they want a king who's going to follow the Torah. So he says this into the ears of Hashem. So the question is, why did he have to say it back to Hashem? Doesn't Hashem know what's going on? So So you could say, on the one hand, that now that he saw that they were doing a bit of tshuva, so he was like a melitz yosher. He was like a good advocate. And really it's meduik in the Targum. The Targum says, on the words that he said it to Hashem's ears, it says, V'sadrinun kadam Hashem. He arranged their words before Hashem. He says, Hashem, I see that they mean better. You know, he was advocating for them. That's one shot. And Malbim says, L'lamed aleim schus, to look favorably upon them, to speak good for the Jews. You know, I'm sure the Hasidic Pshat would say, you know, where else do you have an issue of why did the leader repeat what the Jews said? When Moshe Rabbeinu was going back and forth before giving of the Torah, Hashem said, go down and tell the people this. And what they're going to answer. Then he came and the Jews said, we want to see our God. Nasa v'nishma. Then Moshe comes back, Hashem, they said, Nasa v'nishma. Hashem, they said, we want to see our God. Why did Moshe do that? The answer is, Hashem always likes to hear good things about the Jewish people. You know, if your kid got the top marks in the country in the test, right? And you know it already, because you got a letter in the mail. And then your kid told everybody. And then the kid's parents find out. So then the parents call you up, oh, you know, that's really nice to hear that your daughter, what? You're going to say, well, I know that already enough to tell me? You get 50 calls. Oh, your child was very good in this thing. Come on, bring the calls in, you know. People call you up with a mazel tov. I already know they're engaged. I don't have to hear your mazel tov. They don't have to hear that. Everybody likes to hear good news. Hashem likes to hear the good news too. So if the Jews say something good, Moshe have a chance to say something good that the Jewish people are doing. Shmuel saying, listen, I have something good to say that they're doing. So then that's something Hashem wants to hear. Right? So what does Hashem answer? Chav Beis. We'll end with this. I just want to see where this ends. So he says, Vayomer Hashem al Shmuel. So Hashem says to Shmuel, Shma b'kolam, listen to their voice. V'imlachto lahem melech, and coordinate for them a king. Vayomer Shmuel al Anshe Yisrael, and Shmuel says to the Jewish people, L'chu ish liro, everybody should go back to his city. So Hashem answers, now they can bring a king, as it should be. As the Torah says, Som tasim alecha melech, that Hashem will choose. So therefore, send them back to their homes, and they will wait to hear word. So again, the question has to be asked: why didn't Hashem appoint a king right on the spot? Right, that's one question, and that answer will probably evolve as we see the ensuing story. And another question is: why do we have to repeat this idea that Hashem says, listen to their voice? He already told them to listen to their voice even beforehand in Pasuk Zayin. Here's the real repetition. Hashem says, Shma b'kolam, listen to their voice. And in back in Perek Ches Pasuk, was it Vav or Zayin? In Pasuk Zayin, it says, Shma Hashem, V'yomer Hashem Shmuel, Shma b'kolam, L'cha Hashem Yimulecha. He's telling them to listen again. But here he's telling them to listen differently. They've said something different. The first time they made a request that wasn't good. Hashem says if they want something not good, you should listen to their request that's not good. But now he said, no, but they really were saying nicer. He says, okay, then you should listen to what they're saying nicer, because they're saying nicer, so that's something different to listen to. And we will live with them in that way. And there's one more thing to do, we'll do next week, but we'll Mr. Hashem start Perek Tes next week.